welcome to Hardpoint here on a beautiful Saturday night, here with your host Soy Squatch, and let's get right into the instant reactions of the games of today here at CDL. So the very first match was the Atlanta Faze against the Vegas Legion. I immediately called this. I said it's going to be 3-0 after Faze's lost to Toronto yesterday. I expect them to come out really hot. Even though Vegas did play in the preseason, in the scrims very well, we still haven't seen that here during the season, and I expected them to continue to play that same kind of way. Again, really the only thing to talk about here, Temp has really been one of the only consistent players on Vegas, probably for the third year in a row. No matter who comes in, no matter who goes out, Temp stays, Temp contributes, and Temp slays. Temp does well. I feel really bad for him. I still haven't heard him really complain about it whenever he's on the flank or on Twitter or anything. So I don't know how much he cares about being there. I feel like he would have voiced his frustrations. But I mean, again, Temp, whenever I'm watching, I always feel like he's the one kind of making the big impactful plays. And then everyone on Faze contributed. Simp still is playing kind of slow at a 1.1. I mean, just who cares about the stats here? Look, I mean, the stats are very impressive here throughout the overall match stats. But Simp, again, even though it's a great KD, it's just I still don't feel his impact as much as I felt in other games. And I'm assuming it'll come back to him. But as of right now, it's feeling a little slow. This was just an easy victory. 3-0 control, 6-0 as S&D. The hard point was a little touch and go, but at the end, the talent of the Faze really shone bright at the end as they were able to just take control when the time kicked in. Superstars really do run the league. Next up, the next game was Optic Texas against London Royal Ravens. This was a match that I was really excited for because it's really going to show us who the Ravens are, seeing them lose to the Surge yesterday, and then we're also going to just be able to see a lot more of Optic as we've only seen really one full game of Optic so far. This is their third game. And again, Scump shone bright. He played so well. You know, I don't know if I think it's a mixture between his last dance, his last year in the league, and then also this game. Again, popping off 1.4, but on top of that, it's just his impact. Shotzi, again, was also the only other player that was positive for Optic, but his impact, again, he's just so quick. He has the best POV to watch in this game as well, as he did last year and probably the years prior. But again, they played very well. And then even the Ravens came out and played decent. Their stats don't show it. Nasty has been struggling ever since the first weekend. But Asim has been the constant contributor for the London Royal Ravens. He has been a superstar this year, as he always seems to start off every year. If he starts having a fall off towards the end of this year, I think it's enough to say it's been a pattern where Asim's a hot start player, and maybe he just loses the desire or the impact he once had. Not impact. He loses the motivation to continue on throughout the season. If that happens again, which would be sad, but he always seems to start off good. I'm always impressed. I said that in one of the first videos. Just I feel like he's going to be the best player here with the Ravens, which he has been. If we look to the game, again, this was Neslo. So the London Royal Ravens won both hard points and lost everything else. It's not a bad way to win games. I personally believe hardpoint is the most impactful game mode to be good at because hardpoint tends to help you in control as they're both respawns, and then it also gets you hot, gets you started in the match early, and then it'll always be able to force a game 5. If you can win your hardpoints, you can always force a game 5. A lot of people think S&D, but I would go to my grave saying hardpoint is the most important to be good at for those reasons. And I mean, it doesn't show here at the Ravens as they weren't able to pull out the game 5, but Optic is looking very methodical and they are working very well. They don't have the respawn quite down yet. If I recall here, they just Dashi and Illy. Yep, Dashi and Illy were pretty struggling on this hardpoint. Dashi pulled out a reticle, which I think slowed him down as he tweeted afterwards. But yeah, it was a really fun game. The Ravens have been a really good S&D team, but throughout the weekends. But as you see here, they got 12-3'd overall rounds, so not very good. The Ravens, I think, personally have come down a lot as a team for me and what I expect from them. Next up, the Boston Breach against the Subliners. And again, my hot seat player is performing. Priesta is back at it. I did not, like I said, I did not expect him to continue to be on the hot seat. I was just like, after what he did last week, he needs to perform better, and that he did. Kismet and Hydra both popped off. And then the Boston Breach struggled towards the end. They started off great. If you don't know, this was a 2-0 start for the Boston Breach. They didn't have complete command, but they had enough of a command where I felt confident. I was like, they're going to win. Not just because they had 2-0, they just felt like they were playing better to me in the small, influential moments. We did have 3 Bagras in a row, which always sucks to see. I hate the map. I think, if you saw my map tier list for competitive Call of Duty, I think Bagra is the worst competitive map we've had since the CDL era started, just because of the spawn trapping you can occur, and there's not a 3-lane map, and I just think it's kind of fugazi. But yeah, the New York Subliners were able to pop off at the end. The last 3 rounds, they turned it around. I mean, again, it's just they just played better at the end. I don't know, like, all 3 of their players are negative. 3 of New York was up. I feel like there's some good slaying power on the Subliners, which the Boston Breach do have on occasion, but I just feel like New York does have more slaying potential. Even with Skies, I think Skies is one of their highest slaying potential, but he even underperformed here today a little bit. But they still were able to pull out the map, so that was good for them. Last up, the most shocking map of the day, as I didn't think, Boston losing to New York. I did not. I actually predicted New York to win this one, if I recall, for my pick'ems. But this is by far the most shocking. I don't know if we can chalk this up to LA not on top of their game because they're playing a weaker opponent, Florida rising to the occasion, or just a little bit of mixture. But I have been really impressed with Bracken Vickle. Havoc has been underperforming all year long, and Major Maniac was doing well today. I felt like every time I saw his POV, he was winning his gunfights, which is always great to see him do that. When he's doing that, that's a great recipe for success, because he's usually that slower player, and having him actually be able to perform and do that is awesome. Kenny, Octane, Envoy, all below 1 KD, which is fine. KD doesn't tell everything, but it does tell a little bit, as Draza was the only one positive, and I feel like every time we've seen the Thieves this year, Draza has been the most consistent player. Octane have been starting a little slow. I could see Octane having maybe a similar pattern to the last season, where it did take him a couple majors to get his groove and feel out the maps and feel out the game a little bit more. Envoy always makes clutch plays, and throughout this game, I mean, coming off that very first hardpoint, 251.89, Thieves were so methodical, and every hill, they had it, they broke it. If they didn't have it, they broke it. When they made their push, they always were able to rotate. Even though the score isn't super crazy, I thought, as soon as this match ended, I said, okay, Thieves are winning this. And they probably thought the same thing. Maybe that's what brought them down. But the S&D, they got behind early. They tried to make their race back. They just couldn't finish it off. And then we see the Mutineers just took the last 2 as well. If you look at this hard point, really Brack really popped off at a 2.17 KD. Well done, Brack and Vickle. They've been making great contributions to the team. And then every player on the LA Thieves were below 1. Not great recipe right there. But I don't think this is a super big, I don't think this is a huge worry. I think it does continue that narrative that the LA Thieves just aren't as good as Faze right now, as they did lose, and now losing to Florida. Not a great next game post losing to Faze. So I think, looking to the power rankings this weekend, we can expect the Thieves to still be underneath Faze, unless, let's look at the schedule, because they got an important game. The third game of tomorrow's schedule is LA Thieves, Texas. Humongous game. Going to be very fun to watch. And then Seattle. These 2 middle games are going to be extremely fun to watch. Seattle, Ultra. This will be a big tell for where Seattle's at. I think Toronto is going to be really hot coming off that Faze win, and it's going to take a lot from Seattle to be able to pull this game off. Minnesota, Las Vegas is probably going to be a snooze fest. If I had to make a prediction, I'd say 3-1 Minnesota. Sure, Minnesota's not the top of the crop in my eyes, but they're still just better than Las Vegas. I think it'll be a 3-1 snooze fest. Boston LAG, again, a 3-1 snooze fest. Both these games here in the middle could go down to the wire, could be game fives, very fun. Top tier talent against top tier talent. And this will be a huge tell to where the power rankings will be this coming weekend after this. Thanks for watching, and please feel free to like and subscribe and watch some other videos from Midnight Release.